So we are going to review the final chapter from this semester. Let's look at what we learned during chapter 3. The first thing that we did was to check to see if a value is a solution of an equation. Okay, and how do you determine that? You replace the variable with the number. And then you simplify. And then you determine if the statement is true or false. Okay, so this is how you check a solution. If the statement is true, the value is a solution. If the statement is false, then the value is not a solution. Okay, so we started off this chapter with just checking solutions. Okay, for example, is x equals 16 a solution? Let's plug in the value and check. So 16 is going to go into the x spot. Is 16 minus 5 equal to an 8? You plug it in to the original equation, and then you calculate 16 minus 5 is 11, and that does not equal 8. 16 is not a solution because when you substitute 16 for the x, you get a false statement. Okay. Writing the inverse. When you take a look at a problem that has addition, you're going to do the inverse. The opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. Okay. The opposite of multiplication is division. And the opposite of division would be multiplication. So if your x has 2 times x, the opposite would be to divide by 2, and that would get x alone. If you have division, if you have x divided by 7, then what we should do is multiply by 7, and that cancels out the 7. Okay? And how do you get rid of a fraction? With the reciprocal. With the reciprocal. Okay, for example, if I have 2/5 x, I would go ahead and cancel out 2/5 by multiplying by 5/2. But you'd have to do that on both sides. Okay, we're going to take a look at some examples of solving. So here are some, here's a two-step equation. Okay, so when you have a two-step equation, let's just pull out a note here. First, you do the adding or the subtraction. And second, okay, you do the multiply or the divide. Okay, so this is for a two-step equation. A two-step equation, like this equation right here. The first thing that we're going to do is get the 8 out of there. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides, and that cancels it away. Now we have negative 2x equals 8 minus 4 is 4. Okay. Some people say, well, can't we do it that new way? Remember how we started switching sides and switching signs? Absolutely. Okay, so here's my equal sign. Let's take 8, the negative 8, and move them to the other side. So we have negative 4, and who's going to join him? Not a negative 8, but a positive 8. And then what we get is negative 2x equals 4. So you get the same thing. You could do it the way that we first learned it, or you could switch sides. Okay, but we're not done. Both of these equations need to get finished. I need to divide by negative 2. So you always look in front of the x to see if the number is positive or negative. And x equals negative 2. Okay, so that's how you're going to go ahead and solve a two-step equation. Next, we're going to take a look at this equation here that has letters on both sides. So we'll go ahead and solve that one. I'm going to do this the new way. A lot of you like to switch sides, switch signs. Let's, all the m's are on the left. I think I'm going to have m's be on the left, and I'll have numbers on the right, since all the m's are already on the left. So we have 8m minus 3m. On the right hand side, I've got the 6. And let's have negative 4 switch sides. A negative 4 becomes a positive 4. Okay, let's combine our like terms. 8 minus 3 is 5m. 6 plus 4 is 10. There's just one thing left to do. Divide both of the sides by 5, and m equals a 2. So that's how you go ahead and solve the equation if there's many variables. This last example here, okay, d is not alone because there's a fraction in front of it. So this would be a great time to do the reciprocal. Okay, so I'm going to take 5 over 2 and I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2 over 5. Yesterday we practiced reciprocal. Negative stays, you just flip the number. Let's be fair and do it to the right hand side. Okay, so over here negative times negative makes positive. That cancels. The 2 and the 2. Everything should cancel, and then all you have left is the variable. Okay, over here a positive times a negative is negative. You can go ahead and multiply and then divide or use your calculator. Any way that you want to do this, you're going to get negative 6. Okay, whenever you take the final, it's a good idea to check your answers to make sure they work. Okay, so how do we check for something like this? Let's just show the work for checking. I'm going to see if negative 6 is indeed the answer. So you take the original problem, which was negative 5 halves, but instead of writing a d, let's write negative 6. And let's see if that makes the 15 I was supposed to get. Negative times negative is positive. 5 times 6 is 30, divided by 2 does 15, make 15. Yes, it definitely works. Okay, some people just type the numbers in their calculator to see if it works. Okay, we also had some equations that look like this. Okay, x is being divided. The opposite of divide would be multiply. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply the left-hand side by negative 4. The opposite of divide would be multiply. And then I have to multiply this side by negative 4. So on the left-hand side I have x, and on the right-hand side I have a 4. Okay, let's go ahead and show how you would check. With your calculator, what you would do is type the original problem, negative, the x is 4, I think, and divide by 4. Does that make negative 1? And yes, it does. That's definitely the correct solution. Okay, this next one right here, to solve this equation, you might have to distribute. Okay, we don't distribute this. This is plus. You only distribute the number that's next to the parentheses. Okay, so let's go ahead and 2 times 5 is 10 minus 12y plus 2y equals to 30. Let's see, I got a lot of y's, I got numbers, so I'm going to do the switch sides thing. I'm going to make y's be on the left side, and I'll put numbers on the right side. Okay, so negative 12y, make sure you look in front for the sign. You're going to stay on that side. Positive 2y, you're going to stay. 30 is on the right, and who's going to join him? The negative 10. Okay, on the left-hand side, let's add our like terms. Negative 12 plus 2 is negative 10y. 30 minus 10 is 20. Okay, go ahead and type this in your calculator just how you see it. And then we'll divide both sides by negative 20. And y equals positive divided by negative is negative 2. Okay, let's go ahead and check to make sure that that is indeed the right answer. Okay, you have to plug it into the original problem just the way it was typed. Don't check here, because if you made a mistake here, the bad answer will work in the bad equation. We have to check the original equation. So the original problem has 2 and then parentheses. Again, you could just type this in your calculator. 5 minus 6 times the y, okay, which is negative 2, plus 2 times the y. I'm hoping that this equals to 30. So go ahead and type all that in, or do some work here. This is 2. 5, a negative times a negative is a positive 12. And then a positive times a negative is negative 4. 2 times 17 minus 4. Does that make a 30? Uh, 17 times 2 is 34. 34 minus 4. Yes, 30 does equal a 30. Yes, we got it right. Check. Okay, you can type this in your calculator too to see if it makes a 30. Okay, and the last kind of problem that we studied in this class, when we distribute, there might be variables on both sides. Okay, you know how to do this. First, let's make sure we distribute a negative. Negative times positive is negative 2x. A negative times a negative is a positive 14. Over here, it doesn't look like we have to distribute anything. All right, I'm going to put all the x's onto the left. I'm going to put x's on the left, and I'll put numbers on the right. Okay, so let's look in front. This is a negative 2x. Don't forget that. Who else is going to join him? When negative 2x switches sides, he becomes a positive 2x. Okay, this 14 is going to stay. And when this positive 14 switches sides, it becomes a negative 14. Oh, this is one of those weird problems, right? Okay, 14 minus 14. If you have $14 and I take $14 away, you have $0. Similarly with x's. You have 2 x's, I subtract 2 x's, you just write 0. Okay, don't write 0x, it's just nothing. They totally canceled out. Okay, this is a true statement, so my answer is identity. Identity. Sometimes when you're solving an equation, you get one solution. A lot of times we just get one solution. I got one solution for this problem, and the solution was negative 2. Here, I got identity. And what does that mean? Okay, that means any number will work. Any number. Really? Any number will work? I'm going to see if that's right. I'm going to try x equals 1. I'm going to take the original problem and I'm going to plug in a 1. Let's see if that's true. Negative 2, I'm going to put 1 minus 7. On the right hand side, it's 14 minus 2 times 1. So what's negative 2 times negative 6? That's a 12. Over here, what's 14 minus 2? 12! It worked! Any number will work for an identity. What if you get something that's false? Then you write no solution. Okay, and then no number will work. And this doesn't happen a lot, just sometimes. All right, I really want you to turn the page now, and let's start to practice our Chapter 3 work and do a great job. Thank you.